This is probably, since becoming the chief executive of the LID, one of the most exciting moments, because here we are launching a new course with a fabulous team. And speaking to people who hopefully will be joining us. So for those of you that don't know the LIR very well, we have two major BA undergraduate courses in acting and technical theatre, a foundation course, and then we have a suite of postgraduate courses, MFA courses. And this is the latest one, which is the kind of, I'm sort of seeing it as the emulsifier, because I think it turns our MFA courses in effect into kind of rather an exciting repertory theatre. It will be the kind of magic that makes everything else work beautifully as well. We are a small drama school by many standards, but we have, I suppose, an international, a global reputation for our links with the industry and how focused our courses are to that end. So it is very much a kind of vocational course, a course that has its eyes fixed very much with its graduates working in the industry thereafter. And I've just had the best 8 months since I've come here, and it's very lovely to see you all on screen and to hear your questions later. I'm going to hand over now, working our way through the building, to Gavin O'Donoghue, who is our head of the MFA suite of courses. Over to you, Gavin.
Great, thanks very much, Gemma. Hello, my name's Gavin. I'm Director of Actor Training and Postgraduate Studies at the LIR. I've been at the LIR since the beginning, so 2011, so it's a long time now. And it's really been gratifying to see the LIR grow to this point where we're adding in a new course in theatre producing. I suppose one of the questions might be, why is it at this stage that we've decided that we were going to take on a course of theatre producing? And because I've been here from the start, I've actually managed to see all of the courses grow and go through our very first quality review, where external examiners come and examine us against the other drama schools in the UK and indeed globally as well. And coming out of that, though, we had to engage with industry, and we're very lucky at the LIR because we get to work with lots of industry professionals. We're very small, but it means we also have a real reach, ironically, when it comes to everybody in the Irish theatre. And coming out of this review process, there was a need determined for an MFA in theatre producing. So when it came to the respondents, over 70%, I think it was 77%, said that there was a real need for qualified producers in Ireland. And as a result, there was no such course in Ireland when it comes to theatre producing. So we endeavoured to set one up. And that's why we're here, and that's why we're engaging with you all. And hopefully, as Gemma says, we might get an opportunity for you to come and study with us. It fits into our existing offering at MFA level, whereby we train stage designers, directors, and playwrights. And the aim is, at the end of the MFA in producing, the sort of capstone project, if you like, there'll be an opportunity for our producers to engage with all of our different fields, if you like, in the LIR, whereby they'll work with our stage designers, with our directors, and indeed our actors and all of our technicians over the course of the course itself. I don't know how much detail we need to go into now. I might just do 1 or 2 bullet points, and then we can go to Matt, who'll be able to sort of dig deep in terms of the actual content of the course itself. But like I said, LIR students have unique access to theatre makers and theatre professionals across Ireland. But not only that, you'd be working within a community of makers, of directors, playwrights, actors, technicians, designers, etc. So you're starting to really meet your theatrical tribe, as it were, and you're meeting the people who are going to engage with you in the future to make work and to indeed change the face of Irish theatre in response to us. So it's a really great opportunity. We're a fully functioning producing house, the LIR. We do over 10 productions a year. And yeah, but I think the most crucial thing and the most exciting thing about the course, I think, is being able to plug in with like-minded people to try and create work, and knowing that you'll be working with your future collaborators. So yeah, so that's a little bit from me. And our MFA programs have been in existence for, let me think, I think it was about 3 years after we opened. So around about 2014, I think 2014 was our very first grad fest, when our MFA directors and designers were working with us. And since then it's grown and we've refined it. And now we're adding another strand, like I say, which is our MFA theatre producing. So we're very interested in how we can really sort of mesh together this entire company and this sort of amazing sort of creative network and sort of organism here at the LIR Academy. So that's it from me for now. I'm going to hand over to Matt then.
Super. Thanks so much. I'm really excited to do the course now after all that. What an intro.
It's a great course. And indeed, Matt, just before you start, and I should also mention, and we're really excited at the prospect of Matt running the course for us, because the point I made earlier on about engaging with theatre professionals, Matt is a theatre producer of long standing, and we're really, really delighted that he's come on board to run this course. So we're really, really blessed in that regard. So Matt, over to you.
Thanks, Gavin, and thanks, Gemma. I'm doubly excited that this course exists. One, because the industry needs producers, you know, in Ireland, in Dublin, in Cork, in Galway, in the towns, and also globally. You know, it's not just unique to Ireland. You know, in London, New York, everywhere, there's always a massive imbalance of really excellent producers and amazing artists out there. So I'm firstly thrilled that this now exists, and we'll really start to see a change in Ireland most immediately over the next few years. But I'm doubly excited that I get to I get to be part of that journey and be the course director. A little bit about me, apart from this role, I have produced with companies in Ireland over the years, which some you may know, some you may not. One is Anu Productions, who do immersive site-specific work around the country. Then a company called This Is Pop Baby, who do kind of large-scale, spectacular, fun, queer cabaret theatre events. I've also worked with Collapsing Horse over the years and toured lots of productions with Dead Center for a long, long time. I used to run Cat Laughs Comedy Festival as a programmer and director of that festival. And then in terms of boards, I was on the board of Machnus, who are a street theatre and spectacle company that come out of Galway. And I was going to say until recently, I'll be finishing up as chair of Project Art Centre this week, which is Ireland's leading contemporary centre for the arts. So yeah, so thrilled to bring that wealth of experience to this role. Thrilled to get who I think are the best of the best in terms of producers and associate producers and key skilled producer supports to come and teach modules in this course. It's a really exciting prospect to do that. The best thing I can say about this course is that it will really condense, you know, my 15 years of producing, but certainly people who've been producing longer, their experience into one really refined, exciting, practical year, which is brilliant. You know, I'm trying to balance up you know, what would it be like if I just became a producer without coming to do this MFA? But what I wish is that this MFA had existed when I left college, and I could have just learned what it was, all the different types of budgets, all the different types of policies, contracting, what it means to do a European tour, and the really boring stuff around the taxation about that, what it means to be a creative leader. You know, it's taken me 15 years to be like, oh, I'm a producer. And I actually feel that everyone will emerge from this course being like, I'm a producer. So that shortcut is great. In terms of I guess the headlines of modules, and I'll pass over to Gavin just on one of them because one of them sits within the rest of the MFAs. But we start with performing arts ecology in Ireland, which will give a really good sense of the ecology in Ireland, the arts organisations, the funding bodies, the ethics of producing work in Ireland, the different people that are important and good to know. Then in that same term, in Michaelmas term, we'll have a module which is kind of the really practical stuff around budgeting, raising corporate funds, finances, contracting, HR. Then we'll move into Hillary term, and there's two modules in that as well that are under my domain, and one is the creative leadership. So I guess what it means to be a creative leader in the arts, how you can get the rights for that film that you want and turn it into a theatre production. What it means to be a trailblazer, not just someone that employs people and puts the budgets together. And then we'll go into the practical work again in module 4, which is around venues, audiences, and touring, such an important part. And we'll make sure to get the best people available to come in who are also practitioners like me, who will be doing this kind of for the first time, which is really exciting because, you know, they realize the importance of this and coming in and breathing the next generation of producers. And then finally, in module 7, there is, as Gavin alluded to, there's a practical piece, which is GradFest and producing that, but also the placement within another production company or amazing producer in the industry in that for that 7th module in the 3rd term. Gavin, do you want to say a little bit about the Thomas Conway's piece and that kind of that link with the other
Well, I mean,
courses?
so Thomas Conway, and Thomas is, I can't remember Thomas's full title now at the gate. I think he's in charge of new work, director of new work.
Dramaturg, yeah.
He's dramaturg, yeah. And he's going to be responsible for developing new work for the gate. And Thomas has been teaching with us for years. He's a dramaturg, he's a director, and he heads up our theatre in context. I think it's theatre in context we're calling it, but basically looking at contemporary theatre in Ireland, and he teaches that across our MFA programs. And also then in the 2nd semester for the producers, then it's also looking at contemporary work internationally. And Thomas really plugs into that in terms of all of the movements that are out there and what it is, you know, the nature of the work being made, the zeitgeist, what is the movement, you know, what's happening in terms of the work that's being created. So even though we're based in Dublin, we'll be thinking globally in terms of what's happening out there internationally as well. And Thomas always brings in, you know, whoever's making work at that time. We bring in writers, directors, choreographers, etc. So whatever's happening in the, you know, the theatrical landscape in Dublin at any given time, Thomas has got great access to bringing people in relation to that, to engage with the students. And obviously he's developed work over the years with lots and lots of different writers. So it's a great opportunity for him to engage with those and bring them into us.
And I think it's important as well to say that, you know, the course acknowledges that there's not a one size fits all for the type of producers become. You know, this will give people the appropriate tools, the things that you could really need to then figure out what your place in the industry would be and what kind of producer you'd like to be. It's really going to looking at the process from the moment of an idea, you know, straight through a collaboration to the project being made, what that means, what it means to lead a team of people, what it means to collaborate with a team, to, I guess, that project success, and then the bit beyond, the touring piece as well as the wrap and where that sits.
I mean, everything's really practical. I mean, that's the thing. It's a 1-year MFA, but the reality is it's really, really practical. Every single one of our MFAs is. So, for example, when it comes to GradFest, which is the capstone project, if you like, of the year, and that's the big moment for our designers to be assessed on their work, the directors to be assessed on their work. Also, our actors get assessed at that point as well. Well, they get many assessment points along the way, and our SMTT, our stage management and technical theatre students, but also the producers are going to be plugged into the system as well. So we're going to be giving them responsibility for lots of different areas in terms of running GradFest. But it's an exciting time, GradFest, and it's a real hive of activity and energy. The Lear always is. But it's an opportunity where everybody is being handed over at that last term to all of the students to make it all work themselves. So obviously they're overseen by all of their tutors. But prior to that, it would be the case that students might be shadowing. So for example, a designer might be shadowing another designer or on a placement with a professional designer, and we'd have professional directors working up until that point. But now our directors, designers, etc., are taking that next step out into the world. So it's an opportunity for them to show us their work. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. It's I think, you know, one thing I was trying to consider is, you know, who is the course for, you know, at what stage people might feel like they need to be before they apply. And there are such pros and cons to either sitting outside the industry or being in the industry. If you aren't part of the industry or the ecosystem already, I think it's the perfect course because of what it will, what it front loads in terms of introducing people to what the Irish ecosystem is like and what the international ecosystem is like, and then the tools to try and get, and then the tools and then the introductions. You know, it's a big networking piece in terms of meeting people from the industry and understanding the different roles different organizations play. But also, if you're already part of that ecosystem and you're part of the industry, whether you're a stage manager or a production manager or an actor or a director that's really interested in making the jump, then I think you'll be really in a good place as well, because everyone in the industry will know you and you'll have had a good sense of what type of producer you might want to become.
Fantastic.
Can I just jump in very quickly? I mean, when it comes to, say, the work that we do with our actors, for example, our foundation diploma students as well, and our directors, we're also trying to get people who are typically interpretive artists to think about themselves as being creative artists as well with our actors. So we want them to be sort of entrepreneurs insofar as they can go out there and create work, and that they realize that they can engage with that level as well. And we'll also be looking to try and plug our producers into some of the processes that are being used to make work across different courses in the college. So, for example, at the moment, we have Louise Lowe, who's making devised pieces with the second years, and Annie Ryan. So they're going to make brand new pieces of theatre, which we're going to see at the end of this term. So it'll also be an opportunity to see how work is made. Yeah, and there might be a very exciting opportunity for you there as well. Gemma.
I was just going to say, I suppose the other strand to everything we do, the strands that everything we do is we have obviously a strategic plan, but we are very forward focused. I like to think at the LEAR in terms of both our sustainability and how this is kind of in our DNA and crosses all courses. So we're pioneering at the moment at the LEAR. We're the first, I think, almost in Ireland. Our theatres are produced, some of our shows are produced with the Green Book, which is a sustainable circular economy way of producing work that means that we're not throwing great kind of truckloads of stuff into a tip after a show and it all goes back, and how we can create greener shows. And of course, in terms of the ethics of performance, of our EDI diversity, in terms of intimacy coordination, the world, since I was making theatre, I'm a theatre director myself, has changed enormously. The tectonic plates, the socio-political context in which we're making work has changed. And the LEAR doesn't just want to run alongside that, actually wants to be producing agents of social change that will be leaving the LEAR and helping to make this a fairer, greener world for theatre makers and artists. So those things will be throughout your learning, throughout hopefully the ethos of the building. It's something we're all very passionate about here, and we engage with the industry on those terms. So for example, our last green set, a huge amount of it was borrowed from the Abbey Theatre in terms of recycling what they're doing, and we involve artists and theatre makers in those conversations about making a fairer world for theatre makers. So that kind of runs across, I suppose, all the courses we do, but it's of particular importance, I think, to producers in terms of how we make work now, but also the world that we're moving into and how we want to make work most sustainably and fairer.
And as Gemma said, we're so excited to see what an influx of producing students will do to the building, what they'll, not structurally, of course, because there's limits, but, how that will affect what GradFest shows are, how that will affect, what it's like to be a director, MFA, or an acting student, to have producers around having those conversations about what might happen after. And that's really exciting because that will just bring a whole new lens and a whole new way of attack through the courses, which is brilliant.
Yeah, and I'm just going to jump in on that, Matt. In the past, we have had some of our devised pieces end up being produced in the professional world, and also some of our GradFest shows have gone on to be produced in theatres outside of the LEAR. And one of my great hopes is that will happen on a more on a regular basis, yeah, so that because we're engaging with our producing students, that we can start to bring our work outside the building as well.
Great, thanks everyone. I'm going to also introduce you to Leonor, who's our admissions manager, and if you could tell us a little bit about what you do, Leonor, and how you engage with students.
Yeah, of course. Hi everyone. It's very difficult to now follow all of these amazing people in introducing my role when they've said such great things, but it really is a great thing to be in this building and to experience that energy daily. And as Matt was saying, it will be all the more exciting when we have producers around, because that just changes the nature of conversations, and that just allows for people to take things to the next level and actually see their creative ideas come to fruition and actually make it to the real world. In terms of my role, I am the admissions manager, as Jessica was saying. I'm basically here to help each one of you when you do submit your applications in getting the best application you can get out here to be assessed by the entire panel. So by Gemma and by Gavin. I'm the first point at which those applications come in, and I'll read them, and I'll say, I'll be there to literally hold your hands and say, there's something here missing. You need to put in this document, and I'll be there to explain to you what that document is and what you need to put in there. And I'm really, really passionate about helping each person who comes through our doors, metaphorically and also in fact, but everyone who's interested in pursuing their career in the arts and specifically in theatre making. I'm really, really passionate about giving you all the best chance possible to succeed. Because obviously there's a lot of people who come through our doors for any course. But it is everyone's job, and my job in this case, to make sure that your questions are heard, that, you know, if you send me an email with loads of questions, I'll be there to answer those questions. And if I don't know, to bump them up to Matt and to Gavin and to Gemma or whoever it is that can help you, and to just make sure that you feel supported as you're making your applications, and to then say, guys, look, we have such an excellent application here from someone who's really, really excited to do the course. And hopefully, you know, everyone, if it was for me, and everyone here can say that, I'm always supporting each one of the applicants. So for me, if it was for me, I'd always be letting everyone in on the basis that they were nice to me. But it is true that I'll be there on the other side of the admissions email when you ask your questions, and I just really want you all to succeed. So remember that. Don't be afraid to email admissions, because it is just me. And I'm there to answer those questions, and I'm really excited about this course. If I could, I'd be sitting there with our future applicants and for cohort for 24, sitting there with them taking the course as well, because it's really just that exciting. And we're really lucky to have the team we have Matt too on board with us. And yeah, so any questions that you guys have in terms of references and how do I deal with the Trinity College portal and all of that, I'll be there for you.
Thanks, Leonor. Well, speaking of questions, it is now time to hand over to you. If anybody there has questions, feel free to either use the chat box if you prefer, or if you're happy to unmute and ask a question. We are all ears. And there are no silly questions, by the way. We get all sorts of questions.
Hi, everyone. Thanks very much for a very informative talk and session. And apologies, this is a little elementary, and if it's been answered already, I probably should know it by looking it up. Is there a possibility will there be in the future a part-time course, i.e. spread over 2 years, or will any of the course be virtual, hybrid? Do you foresee?
I mean, in terms of the part-time side of it, it is a part-time course if that's what a student opts for at the present time. So there's certain modules that you'll do in the first year and certain ones that you will do in the second year. So it is offered as a part-time course. It's the same for our stage design, playwriting, and all of our MFA programs. So Rory, yes, the answer to that is yeah. If you were to apply and if it worked for you on a part-time basis, then absolutely we can make that work. And I suppose we're mindful of people coming to this at different stages in their lives, and you know, people need to work as well. We get that, so that might be a way of facilitating it, and it might be a better setup for different people. But as a part-time element, yes, absolutely, and that can and will exist. Yeah.
We sort of front load the more research, academic level of it in that first year. In your second year, you'd be doing more of the production focused, yeah. if you were to do it part-time. And of course, if you were to do it full-time, you'd do it all in those 13 months.
And just to say, and it's a point that I didn't make earlier on, one of the courses, the ones with Thomas Conway, for example, you know, when it comes to contemporary theatre practice, that's also done with the rest of our MFA students. Yeah, so it wouldn't just be the producers on their own. You'd be working together with the directors, with the playwrights, and indeed with the designers as well. So you will be plugged into them for that class. Was there a second part to your question, Rory?
I was just more out of curiosity, if is it all 100% in person, or are there
Oh yeah, Matt, I'm going to hand it over to you. I suspect some teachers that you want to get in or guest speakers. It might be a case that we bring them in on Zoom. We've done that in the past when Zoom has been able to open up all sorts of opportunities. But that's one for you, Matt.
Yeah, that's a good. I hadn't actually thought about that element yet. At the moment, I'm planning for it to be in person, and to the extent that, especially because lots of the teachers might come from institutions, and I think it's important for the MFA students to get out to different buildings in Dublin and have their classes in different locations in different contexts to kind of, see spaces, get tours of theaters, and also kind of, that will help certain things be grasped or understood a bit more. I think there will be some things online, but predominantly it'll be in person.
Thanks very much.
Certainly, just from the perspective of Thomas's course, for example, because it brings everybody together, you go and see work in person together, and then you come and discuss it. And actually, that from the feedback that we get, that's actually one of the things that people find really exciting about the course, is that opportunity to feed into different people's insights about the work that they're all seeing at the same time. Are there any more questions?
Hey,
Hey, Tara.
Hi.
mine is sort of in the same vein, and I know it's hard to.
Sorry, you're just breaking up, I think, a bit, Tara's.
Oh, we've lost her.
Yeah. I think it's gone a bit slow.
Maybe Tara could type it in for us.
Oh yeah,
She can hear us. Oh, she's back.
am I back? Okay.
Yeah.
You're back.
A typical week kind of time dedication to the course. What is that like, if you have an idea of that?
Sure, yeah. It's around 10 hours of contact time per week in terms of teaching. And then depending on the week, there will be assignments. And the assignments can range from practical, like in the grant writing class, there will be, grant writing to do in advance of the next class so the teachers can go over it, or there might be budget making and then some reading. But in terms of contact time, 10 hours per week. And then GradFest will be slightly different. So I'll get Gavin and Gemma to describe that a little bit more. And that's so that's for the first 2 terms, it's about 10 hours per week. And then the third term is
Well,
Yeah, I mean, I think for the third term, it's a case of really just being available and on site throughout. I mean, there'll be production meetings, marketing meetings, budget meetings, production management meetings, etc., etc. So I would say that one would need to be fully available over the course of that term 3, depending on the nature of the project and how things work. But you need to be available for the entirety of that term on a full-time, 9 to 5, or indeed 9 to 10 basis. I would say, Gemma.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, some of those meetings that you might need to have with Jessica in marketing about the particular show that you're producing in GradFest might be able to be done on Zoom, and so on with our production manager. But you need to be kind of available as you would be. Imagine that you're producing a piece of theatre, just in the same way that you would dedicate yourself to that. It will be more or less, like all the work that we do at the LIR, its final culmination is always a practical piece, pretty much done to a professional kind of timetable and outcome. So not all of that will be in person. Lots of those meetings can happen on Zoom or Teams or whatever. But yes, you will have to be available in that third term.
And just maybe to explain a little bit about the terms as well. So we have 3 12-week terms that in essence you'll be working on, but also this course includes placements, so that will take place after that last term as well.
So we're running up to October. Just in terms of placements across, maybe you could be have a placement at the Fringe Festival, or it could be the Dublin Theatre Festival, etc., etc. So one would need to be available up until October. So it's more than just a year. Sorry, Jessica, I didn't mean to put it across you.
No, that's what I was going to say, suggest that you say. And also with that GradFest production, so there's 4 of those, with the idea being that we'll have a producer on each. So they tend to work in 6-week blocks, but you may need to be available obviously before that time to discuss things with designers and all that kind of thing. But the intensive period will be that 6-week rehearsal into technical, into performance week as well.
Brilliant.
Anything in that? Yeah.
I also have one more question. What sort of emphasis is on research along the course? Like, if someone say did this course and went on to get industry experience as well, would they be kind of not fully like the pressure to be equipped, but eligible to sort of do further research or return to academia for further study, like at PhD level?
Absolutely, it's an MFA conferred by Trinity College Dublin, and it stands up in those terms across the globe. So you have an MFA. We tend to have a less kind of research focused course in terms, although you could choose to do that, you'll have reflective journals, but your qualification will stand up in terms of wanting to do a further degree should you want to. We don't at the moment offer doctorates ourselves, so you might want to do that somewhere else, although we're thinking about it, but the qualification itself would stand, would be.
And I suppose the thing is, all of our courses, like our degree in acting, for example, it's a full-time course. You're in for 7 hours a day, perhaps, indeed sometimes even longer than that. But Trinity recognize the practical nature of our courses. But the other critical thing is they recognize the rigor with which we teach the courses and the manner in which we assess them. So to some extent, they've had to learn a new way with us of how do you assess work at this level. So we're working to a professional standard across all of our courses. We want our students to be ready for the industry. So what we're asking to do might be slightly different. So it's not always the case that we're writing a dissertation. However, the capstone project for the producers is going to be producing a play to a professional standard, which is an epic task in and of itself. So yeah, so it's going to be a rigorous course like all of the rest of them. It'll be assessed rigorously, but we're making sure that you have the practical skills, real world, real life skills that you can apply in the world. Yeah. So how we assess it might be slightly different. Yeah, so we're not always saying you need to do a dissertation, but it's recognizing the practical. And Trinity, have moved a lot in terms of their assessment processes, and they really recognize the work that we're doing, and they're really, really supportive with regard to it, and they understand the manner in which we see the world. So yeah, so you'll be ready for the industry after this, but
also ready for a doctorate if you wanted
for a doctorate, indeed, because it's an MFA conferred by Trinity College. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hi, sorry, can I just jump in there? I'm just wondering, are there any sort of like formal qualifications that are required to kind of do a course like this? Anything that you think?
Undergraduate degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not in any, like I studied English and history, like it's an arts degree, is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a case that there's an absolute definite prerequisite in terms of what degree do you need to have studied prior to coming to us. There's a general requirement that one has a 2-1 in the degree. However, we can make a case to do with the students being of exceptional talent, and we can make a case on their behalf if, having interviewed them, we think this person is really ideal for this course. So I suppose what I'd say is, if you've got less than a 2-1, don't feel like you can't come and talk to us. Let's have that conversation and let's see. And people come from producing from lots of different backgrounds, our predecessor.
Because there are no undergraduate producing courses, we're expecting people to come with life experience, and it will be the interview. We will interview you, and that's when we'll discover your passion for discovering this subject. We're fully aware that we're walking in virgin snow, really, certainly in Ireland, but yes, we wouldn't expect you to have come from a course that covered any of this, because they don't exist very often, but you're passionate for it.
Yeah, I was going to say, Matt, what did you study when
my
you were
economics and politics degree is a long time ago, and so yeah, I think the most exciting prospect will be a whole load of people who have a whole load of different undergrads in this course, because producers thrive in networks of people and having new connections and people to collaborate with. So the more varied the background, from my perspective, absolutely the most exciting prospect.
Thank you.
I was just thinking on that note, would it be worth just saying a few words about some of those documents that people will need to submit as part of their application, like the statement of purpose and that kind of thing, just to give people an idea of what we would like to see in those? Leonor, is that you?
Yeah, that is me indeed. Hi guys. So for your application in the same way, and I actually have a question that came in to us from an email of someone who can't be here tonight, but will watch back the recording. So that ties in nicely with that. So for any application that you do for an MFA at the Lear, what we're looking for is, first, like we were saying, minimum entry requirements for Trinity College, to one at least of an undergraduate degree. If this doesn't apply very much to our current cohort of listeners, but if your language is, if English is not your first language, obviously proficiency. So those are the basics. You have to have that when you're going into the application form. Trinity will ask for all of that. But then we ask for statement of purpose, and I'll explain all of them after I name them. Statement of purpose, letter of application. You're producing portfolio, a critical assessment on your work, and 2 references. So the references are also very self-explanatory. In terms of, you'll ask for 2 people who you think will be good to reference your work and what you've done, and they will get you that reference. So, a statement of purpose. What happens a lot of times is that people go into the Trinity application form, and because it's a generalized form for all applications to their MF master's programs, or indeed even their undergrad programs, it's very general and it doesn't exactly match what we're asking for. So you don't need to worry about that. You need to put in everything that is required of you in terms of your personal details and previous education. But what we want to see is all of these. How many did I name? 4 documents uploaded to your application and named accordingly, please, to spare me a bit when I'm archiving everything. So, statement of purpose. Statement of purpose basically tells us why you want to take this course and what is your ambition after you finish the course. Why is it that at this point in your career, as whatever you've studied to be, or whatever has taken you into producing, why have you chosen this time to do this course, and what is your purpose in doing it in terms of furthering your career as a producer? And this can be, you can include what theater is to you, what role theater has played in your life, or the performing arts in general, why you have chosen this career, but more so, what is your purpose after this? So it's a lot forward thinking. What will the MFA allow you to do? And that's your purpose there. So that's, there's no maximum word amount, there's no minimum word amount, although, a standard kind of 500 plus would be, I think the most adequate to say all of that. But, from there upwards, the world is your oyster, and you can just let everything shine there. Then the letter of application, so if you are used to and you've done this before in terms of applying to any course, what we've done here is kind of divide what a personal statement is, because you have your statement of purpose, so you're being really clear, and then you have your letter of application, which describes your experience today. So in reality, this ends up being a personal statement, which just means that you don't have to put a personal statement in the little box in the application form that Trinity gives you. So, letter of application. Just have to tell us how you've ended up here, basically. What your theater education is, and please note when we say education, we don't mean necessarily having studied theater, as Matt was saying, economics and politics. and yourself, Megan, you did English. So what your theatre education is how have you engaged with theatre through your life, through extracurricular activities, through going to the theatre, seeing plays, you know, everything that you've done that shows how you've connected to this passion that you have. And in that is also talking to us about, you know, if you've directed theatre, how has that, you know, influenced you? If you've written plays, if you've done stage design, anything really. It's just telling us about you and your relationship with theatre and what you've done so far until.
Can I jump in on that,
Yeah,
Leonor, just for one
go for it.
second, because you raise an interesting point, like if you've been a director, if you've done stage management, etc. Because we do have our, you know, producing portfolio bit, you know, the portfolio section, but because not everybody is going to have produced anything at this stage, and quite a few of you won't, and that's fine because you're coming to learn those skills. You can expand there on work that you've done. What have you engaged with? Have you directed stuff when you were in college? What different theatre companies have you been involved with? Have you acted, etc., etc.? You know, so you can also expand on some of those areas in that section as well if you don't have direct producing experience to date. But have a think about the areas that you can sort of highlight in terms of, you know, your engagement with theatre up to this point in that area as well. Sorry, Leonor, back to you.
Oh, absolutely no apologies needed. So then in terms of your portfolio, like Gavin was just saying, you're going in and you're telling, it can be, you know, document, PDF, a website. I've seen portfolios in all kinds of formats. It's just chronologically, apologies, it's getting to the point of the evening where my English starts going away from me. Just lining out what you've done, what plays you've acted in, what plays you've stage managed, anything. So, you know, with full credits, all of those technical details are very important to show that your engagement with the work as well. So, you know, just everything, all crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's. So that's your portfolio that you'll include as well along with your CV. And then you have your critical assessment. And I actually, I'm going to start answering this, but then I might pass the ball on to Matt as a producer himself. He'll be more than equipped to kind of lead on more on this. So what a critical assessment is you're going to think critically. You're going to engage your critical thinking muscles in and analyzing a production you've produced, hopefully. If not, it can be a production that you've worked on. So you're going to talk about the process of working on that production, and you're going to assess the work that you've done. So you're going to evaluate the process and talk about your ideas, your ambitions, you know, the plans that you had, and how those then came to fruition, how they happened, and then you're going to evaluate the outcomes that you took away from that. So, you know, the learning outcomes that you've taken from working with other people, you know, your strengths, your weaknesses, all of that, and just kind of wrap that up in a nice critical thinking little present. But I'll let Matt as well give any intel if he does have in terms of how you'd apply that to producing.
Is really hard to add more detail than you have there, Leonor. Like really, that was a brilliant. I wish when I was looking at college courses that I had someone to talk me through those steps the way you had there. So thank you. I guess in that moment, what's most useful is the distinction between what you wanted to be, maybe what didn't happen, and how you can acknowledge that and how you would change it again. You know, there's no right answer, but I guess a kind of a clarity around what you're seeking in that moment and what you would do differently is the most important thing in terms of that for me. But Gavin and Gemma, you've read so many of those in the past. Is that a similar point?
I would say so. I think that critical thinking, that self-analysis, that ability, and you know, it might be at this stage that your involvement in this production might be quite modest, your direct involvement in a production might be quite modest, but your analysis of it and how it might have been better, or how you could have arranged it better, or whoever was, without naming names, obviously. But it's that sort of critical thinking that we're looking for at an MFA level. And don't be shy of a modest experience. We appreciate some people haven't had the opportunities necessarily to have a huge theatre CV. It may be as a stage manager, it may be in marketing, but your ability to imagine what it would be like to produce that show and what should have been done differently would be really interesting.
And also sometimes, less is more in that critical analysis. It's not always that you would have souped a situation up, that it could have really have been something that you would have stripped back and taken a more minimalist approach and all that. So it's not just the bits you'd have added on, but the bits that, you would have really taken back and let breathe for itself.
Matt, actually, would it be worth it outlining just a little bit what the interview would be like then? Because I take it that you're going to use these documents as the bouncing point to then have a discussion.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We'll be interviewed by Gavin, me and Matt, and we will ask you really the kind of questions. Why do you want to become a producer? Very probably. What excites you about theatre? Quite general things. What sort of theatre excites you? What your skills are at the moment? What you hope to learn? Nothing to trip you up. We're looking for your passion and your analytical skills, really. There's no trick questions. It's a broad range of people that we're looking for, with different forms. You might want to do festivals, you might want to do studio-based work, you might, we're looking to discover who you are really and your passion for this course.
Yeah, the course exists to teach you all these things and, bring you further. So you're not, the job isn't to come into the interview knowing all of that already. It's just, I guess, having a sense of what you want to learn and what you want from it is what's most useful to us in that interview process.
And that you have a strong, clear sense of self insofar as what it is you need to learn and why are you coming to us, Really
I don't know, there's some people, but it may be that you live somewhere where you've not had a great opportunity to see a lot of theatre. There may be questions in that interview that say, what play would you like to produce? But we may also be just asking you that you've read a book that you'd like to get the rights for, and turning, we're really there to see your passions and your passion for the sort of work, whether you want to make community work, whether you want to make political work or immersive experiences. It's all relevant to this course potentially.
And Gemma, I just want to add on to just in terms of you mentioned depending on where you are, I was talking to a potential MFA applicant and they were asking, like they said they're American based and how much would be relevant to the Irish context. I would say, producing skills are absolutely 100% universal and transferable. And this course has been designed with that in mind. There is absolutely some Irish contextual stuff that will be useful because it's practical and you'll be meeting people in that context. It'll be good to know who they are and how things work when you're in there. But it's very much created with an eye to being a producer anywhere. Sorry, so this was what a question there.
Thank you, Tara.
Oh, see you, Tara. Thanks a million.
Do we have any more questions? Or have we covered everything there? Leonor is on admissions@thelear.ie, by the way, if ever have any questions. I see Rodolfo is actually joining us. I think he must have got the time wrong. I'm just going to let him join there with the audio. Hi, Rodolfo. I know you're just joining us. Unfortunately, we're actually just finishing up the session, but we are recording it, so I will send that to you once you've got that ready to go.
Rodolfo, did you have one question that we might not have answered that you'll really regret not asking? I think we could probably give you, if there was one thing that you came to ask us, if we did a very short answer. I'm Gemma, I'm the director of the Lear. Nope.
I can't hear you.
Maybe you can't hear me yet.
Oh, there we are.
On the part of the world, I'm in Peru at the moment.
Oh, great. Rodolfo's in Peru, in case anybody. Do let us know if you have a question.
Wait, I think my signal is not going. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I actually was, I don't know if all my messages just said before went all the way through or not, but I'm just curious about the program. I'm a Lear graduate myself. I did the MFA state design program on 2018 to 19, and I'm just curious about what will happen if I return there for theater producing. I think I'm very interested in the program. So if I any chance you're going to upload the recording to some platform or whatever, I will definitely take a view of it, and then I can just send questions via email if that works.
Great, no problem, Rodo. I remember your spaceship with great fondness.
Oh my God, yes. Hello.
That's terrific.
Yes, we had a lot of fun designing that with Kevin Michael Rees, Susan Janowski, and all the crew. Yeah, one of my best experiences in my life having been in the Lear, actually. And yeah, very keen on this point to the question if what happens if I return to do a different program. That's something that I could definitely be considering.
That's fantastic, Rodolfo. Jessica, where can they find the link if Rodolfo wants to listen to all the questions that we've answered and all that we said about the program? Where will we send the link to him?
Yes, I'll be sending that link to tomorrow, Rodolfo. I have your email address here, and I'll be sending it to everyone.
Great, thank you very much for that. I'll be just waiting for it. I'm very curious about the program, and I know it's a new program as well. I have been following the Lear on social media as well a lot. Yeah, that's actually that was my interest. So I will take a look at the recording, and then I will follow up with some questions, if any, by email. Thank you so much for your time.
So if you do have any questions,
nice to see you.
If you do have any questions, Rodolfo, after watching the video, just email them to admissions, and I'll get back to you.
Great, thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
I think that's it for everyone, is it? Yeah, great. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening, and thanks for everyone for speaking as well. And as I say, if you have any questions at all, admissions@thelear.ie is Leonor, and she'll be very happy to talk to you about anything at all. And thank you so much.
Very much.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
everyone.
Thanks a lot.